It looked like your box of frozen poultry, plastic wrapped, ice cold, and stamped with supplier labels. Just another shipment headed for British warehouses. But peel back the frost, and you'd find something far more sinister hidden deep inside the crates. Bricks of high-grade cocaine, packed tight and smuggled in plain sight. Behind this mask was a crime empire that ran like a billion-pound corporation. This was a smooth-running international drug cartel with roots in Mexico, fingers all over Europe, and its claws sunk deep into UK soil. Their base was Birmingham and the surrounding towns that became unwilling hubs in this trusted network. The gang smuggled over £1.5 billion worth of pure cocaine, camouflaged in food shipments that moved like clockwork. British docks looked like regular deliveries for your local fried chicken spot when they arrived. But what came out the other end? Streets flooded with dangerous narcotics, prison cells packed with addicts, and entire communities torn apart. The operation was airtight. High security encrypted phones, fake logistics trails, front companies. The gang moved like ghosts until a single crack in the facade brought the whole empire tumbling down. It all started in the quiet city of Leeds, where a police raid on a seemingly ordinary house blew the lid off the operation inside. Millions worth of cocaine and crystal meth, and just like that, the floodgates opened. It's one of the largest drug investigations in UK history, a sprawling multi-agency effort that spanned cities and continents. Evidence led from drug drops in Blackburn to encrypted messages pinging from Dubai to drone deliveries dumping drugs straight into UK prisons. But all criminal empires have one thing in common. Eventually, they break. Authorities launched a wave of tactical raids, tracked movement with drones, intercepted messages, and dug into financial trails that led them straight to the ringleaders. Surveillance footage, burner phones, fingerprints, it all began to piece together a web of lies and logistics. By the end of it, 6 major players were hauled into court, convicted, and locked up. And with that, one of the UK's biggest underground drug pipelines collapsed. This is the insane, true crime story of a gang that hid mountains of drugs inside food, foiled the system for years, and brought misery to thousands until their empire cracked from the inside. You'd never guess it from the outside. Imran Singh, the ghost king of cocaine, lived like any average guy. Quiet neighborhood, regular routines, no flashy cars or loud behavior. But while his neighbors thought he was just another face in the crowd, Imran was actually the mastermind behind one of the most massive drug operations Britain had ever seen. This was a criminal business that moved over £1.5 billion in cocaine, disguised as frozen meat, and slipped right through the system. And the center of this storm? Birmingham, a city known for its deep transportation networks and hidden underworld economy. Singh chose his base well. Singh didn't do this solo. He had a team of trusted right-hand men: Maninder Dasanya, Rizwan Ali, Mandeep Singh, Peter Massey, Amandeep Rishi, Ashtiaq Ahmed, Mithab Hussain, and Kamran Hussain. Each one had a job. Some found warehouse space, others managed shipping routes. What made Singh terrifying wasn't just how much cocaine he moved, it was how invisible he made himself. He didn't touch the drugs, barely made a move in public, but behind the scenes, encrypted messages, financial records, and phone traces showed he was calling all the shots. He had the entire supply chain in a chokehold, from the Mexican cartels where the drugs originated, through Europe, and finally into the UK, where everything got broken down, repackaged, and sold. From there, the drugs flowed like water into London, Leeds, Birmingham, and Manchester. The money? Washed through small shops, secret accounts, and businesses that looked clean from the outside. Millions vanished into offshore accounts like dust in the wind. But Singh made one classic criminal mistake. He got too big. He ran everything like a businessman, not a gangster. No guns blazing, no wild parties, just methodical, cold strategy. His genius? Disguising the product. Under the cover of a frozen food import company, Singh and his crew shipped literal tons of cocaine packed inside boxes of frozen chicken. These weren't sloppy jobs either. The boxes looked legit. Vacuum sealed, labelled properly, stored in freezing warehouses like any real meat delivery. But inside those boxes was a narcotic goldmine. As his operation grew, so did the number of people involved. More couriers, more drivers, more risks. And it only takes one crack in the machine for everything to fall apart. That crack started to show with what looked like an everyday food shipment. It arrived like any other, plastic-wrapped pallets, invoices, box labelled for restaurants and wholesalers. But buried inside, mixed with the frozen meat, massive quantities of cocaine, over 15 tons of it. They had turned the process into a near-factory system. The drugs weren't just thrown in with chicken, they were hidden deep, layered into packaging. The whole thing was designed to outsmart customs and border checks. Once inside the UK, the boxes were taken to secret warehouses, like one in Redditch. There, the team would carefully pull the drugs from the packaging, repack it in smaller bundles, and prep it for delivery. They used regular cars, vans, sometimes even food couriers to move millions of pounds worth of drugs across towns, quietly, professionally, and fast. One shipment alone was worth £14 million. And then they started using other hiding spots too. In one house in Blackburn, police found over 217 kilograms of cocaine, some hidden in food blocks, some stuffed in black garbage bags. The guy behind it had already moved £17 million in cocaine over just 9 months. That stash was connected with Singh's bigger network, a web of separate teams, each running their part like a piece of a machine. No single location ran everything. Instead, they had dozens of houses, storage units, and shell companies working together. One group transported the drugs, another cleaned the money, a third managed orders and deliveries. And about technology? Well, the crew used EncroChat, an encrypted phone messaging service that made it almost impossible for cops to eavesdrop, until the system was hacked in 2020. That one event exposed hundreds of criminal networks worldwide, including Singh's. Then, someone in Singh's network turned drones into flying drug mules. Over 100 drops were carried out into 11 prisons across the UK. Flying silently over the walls at night, the drones used fishing lines to lower bags of cocaine, heroin, steroids, phones, SIM cards, and tobacco into prison yards. Singh's crew wanted power inside the prison walls too. Even after arrests, the empire didn't stop. The gang made sure their inside men were taken care of, and their reach remained active from behind bars. But fate had other plans. The final blow came from what seemed like a routine drug raid. In May 2023, police raided a house in Leeds. It didn't seem like much at first, maybe just a small dealer's stash. But inside one locked room, they hit the jackpot. £14 million in cocaine, £5 million in crystal meth, stacks of cash, heat-sealing equipment, scales, vacuum bags, multiple passports. This was a repackaging factory, and that one raid was all it took to send everything crashing down. More arrests followed. Warehouses got searched, accounts froze, phones cracked open, and Singh, the ghost at the centre of it all, finally had its cover blown. At first, it just looked like any other drug bust. A normal house, nothing flashy, but once police stepped inside, they realised this wasn't some street dealer's stash spot. They'd just stumbled into a key station in a massive drug empire. This one place, it was more than a hideout. It was like a control centre. That one single raid kicked off something way bigger than anyone expected. Within days, 3 major law enforcement teams, West Midlands Police, the National Crime Agency, and Lancashire officers joined forces. They started pulling every bit of evidence they had. Phone logs, fingerprints, CCTV footage, everything. The trail eventually led them to an old fire station on the edge of Blackburn. It had been quietly rented out by someone tied to the Birmingham crew. Nothing about it seemed suspicious, but when cops broke inside, they were stunned. They found over 200 kilos of cocaine. Some of it was packed into squishy blocks, others stuffed inside regular garbage bags. The The place looked like a drug warehouse dressed up as a quiet storage unit, but what really shocked the cops was the scale of it. Records showed this one guy had pushed 2,000 kilos of coke in just 9 months. That's 2 metric tons, industrial level. From there, the investigation exploded. Cameras that tracked license plates were used to follow every delivery vehicle linked to the gang. They noticed a pattern. The same vans hitting the same stops, Redditch, Worcester, Luton, on the same days major drug drops or money movements happened. Then came a huge break from a total accident. A drone, used to sneak contraband into prisons, crashed inside HMP High Point, a prison in Suffolk. When guards picked up the wreckage, they found it was carrying drugs, steroids, SIM cards, and even tiny mobile phones, all dangling from fishing lines. But the wildest part? The drone's GPS had stored its past flight data. It had made over 60 drops at 7 different prisons across the UK. The pilot was eventually found using location data and bank info. Turns out the guy had been paid thousands of pounds for his aerial deliveries. His wife? She helped wash the money, around £50,000 worth, and got arrested too. Now, the police were following the money. In London, officers raided some flats they'd been watching. What they found was insane. One apartment had £500,000 in cash sitting on the floor, being counted by a money machine that was still running when police busted in. Surveillance clips later showed young men walking into these buildings like it was no big deal. They were carrying bags packed with money. You'd think they were just visiting friends, not hiding a drug fortune. Then came the tech leak. In 2020, an encrypted communication platform used by criminals called EncroChat got hacked. And suddenly, messages from drug lords across the UK were exposed. Police saw code names, chats about moving cash, orders from Dubai, and even pictures of cocaine bricks. One message even showed a video of someone testing the drugs for quality. The digital evidence tied everything together. Police could now link Himran Singh's inner circle to international suppliers. The gang wasn't just importing drugs. They were working with players overseas, running a network that spanned continents. By mid-2023, this thing wasn't just a case. It had turned into a full-blown international investigation. Surveillance ramped up, warrants were written, and then came the day police decided to end it all. August 2023, 5 a.m. In one massive sweep, police teams hit 14 locations across the UK. Cities like Birmingham, Leeds, Derby, Blackburn, all hit at the exact same moment. Over 100 officers stormed buildings, body cams recorded every second, doors getting smashed, suspects yanked from beds, others trying to escape out windows. The gang's whole operation crumbled in a single morning. In one warehouse in Redditch, officers found frozen chicken boxes stacked neatly, but inside these boxes, cocaine bricks, vacuum sealed and untouched. This was the smoking gun, the undeniable proof that the gang was hiding Class A drugs inside frozen food shipments. In London, police stormed another apartment. They caught dealers mid-task, stacking piles of cocaine and hundreds of thousands in cash. The counting machine was still running when they walked in. Cops arrested 6 core members that day. More followed for helping launder the money. Phones, hard drives, even old school ledgers were taken. Every part of the operation was exposed, from the couriers to the accountants. March 2024, courtroom day arrived. No more hiding, no more frozen chickens. The men stood in front of a judge in Birmingham Crown Court, surrounded not by their crew, but by cops, lawyers, and people whose lives had been wrecked by drugs. Himran Singh, the brain behind it all, got 24 years in prison. He tried to stay invisible, no fingerprints, no drugs on him, just calls and orders. But it didn't work. The evidence was everywhere, his messages, the financial trails, the witnesses who flipped. The judge didn't hold back. He said Singh was powered by greed and didn't care about the destruction he caused in people's lives. In total, they were slammed with over 80 years in prison. Outside court, investigators called it one of the most complicated and well-hidden drug empires they'd ever seen. It wasn't just about cocaine. It was about how far drug lords will go to act like legit businessmen. Singh's gang ran their operation like a tech company. Encrypted apps, money laundering like pros, And logistics tight enough to make Amazon jealous. They even control prisons, for God's sake. And here's the scary part. If this was just one crew, just one part of a bigger network, how much deeper does this go? That was it for today's video. What are your thoughts on today's topic? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see our next videos.